Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Exorcist Season 1, Episode 5. It's called Chapter 5, Through My Most Grievous Fault. Full spoilers for the episode will follow, and we're going to start with something big, so yeah, full spoilers is especially warned at the start of this one. So they've been building up to this. This was their landmark. And by the way, they're off next week. They're taking a break for a week. And I think this was a very smart time to do it.
Yeah, let this sink in a bit.
Yeah, let this one sink in.
Also gives them some time to do some interviews,
Yeah,
while the break's
yeah.
off. Give people a few days to watch it and then talk about it for a couple of weeks.
I think even before we got to the twist, I felt like it felt kind of like a mini finale almost compared to
Yeah,
the
there's
rest
a
of the
lot of big
episodes.
stuff
Yeah.
happening. It kind of left almost on a few different cliffhangers as well.
Yeah, yeah. So no, I think this was a very. I don't know if this was intentional, if it's just a happy accident. This ended up in the one before a wee break, but it's working out nicely for them. But yeah, the big twist that I think most people who are familiar with the movie probably were starting to figure out before it was said.
Yeah, as soon as she starts talking,
Yeah,
you kind of start questioning it.
as soon as she starts talking, I'm like, wait a minute, she's the right
Yeah,
age.
yeah, I was getting to that as well. Huh.
Yeah, that was kind of my line of thought. Even though I couldn't remember a red bird thing from the movie, but I did a quick check. Apparently, it's something that's in the book specifically.
Right, okay, makes sense.
I don't remember it being in the movie. Admittedly, it's been a long time since I've watched the movie, so if it's there, then just forgive me. Memory's not what it used to be.
I think it got to the point though that it didn't matter because by the time she was saying that,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
you instantly knew that this was her salesman,
Yeah, yeah.
and you kind of just figured it out from there.
But it just like obviously clearly that's a connective bit of tissue. Like some people who are, if you're a real hardcore Exorcist fan, as soon as he picks up the Bible, Henry halfway through the episode and sees the red feather, like I feel like those people would have been like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
right
quite
then,
possibly.
yeah. Whereas we were like, no, no, no. It's when she started talking about, oh, I had this traumatic incident in my past, and I'm like, she's going to tell us she changed her name.
Yeah,
Her name's Reagan. I'm calling it now. And of
yeah.
course, the end of the scene, which was mirrored beautifully with shots that were very similar to the original film of someone getting out of a taxi cab
Hmm.
with the hat on, walking up to the house, very silhouette.
Illuminated by the streetlight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they're all very. It was very intentionally done to give you imagery of the movie as they revealed this twist that connected it to the movie.
yeah.
Joe, I was thinking about this twist though, before we talk about how it affects the show. I was thinking about it and I was kind of amused that this twist only works because it's a different actress. Had they cast, what's her face? Oh god, Linda Blair. Had they cast Linda Blair in this show, we would have all just immediately went, alright, it's Reagan grown up. Okay.
Yeah.
It only works because it's a different actress, and I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah, no, makes sense.
And,
But she was young enough that you can get away with just casting someone else.
um, oh yeah, sure, yeah, I'm not complaining they didn't cast someone else. They didn't cast her. I mean,
Yeah,
but I just think it's funny that it only works because they recast the role. Had they went with the original actress, we'd have all just been like, yeah, of course it is.
yeah,
But no, this twist worked, and other than obviously the obvious build for it in this episode, especially at the start, I thought even when the two priests were in the alley, the very narrow alleyway,
mm,
that even reminded me a little bit of the movie. There was a lot of very Exorcist movie imagery going on in this episode,
yeah.
and but no, so I think the twist works well. I think it retroactively makes a couple of things make more sense.
Yeah, like at least now we understand why she jumps to it.
Yeah, yeah, because obviously it happened to her as a kid, so of course she's going to immediately assume possession.
Yeah, because the problem was we'd been seeing her being so adamant and leaping straight to it, and we
She
just couldn't
seemed
buy it.
she seemed kind of erratic and kind of jumping to conclusions one might have
Yeah,
accused her of, and now it's like no, now I actually completely buy it and it makes sense. Of course she thinks that because she went through this already from another
yeah.
perspective. So no, I thought that worked, and it's funny because there was a prediction in one of our comments. I think it was like episode 2, I want to say, where someone suggested that maybe Angela was guilty of everything happening because she'd had an affair. And this deed was what let in an evil spirit. And it's funny because when he was like questioning if she was like lying to him, I was like, "Is that where they're going? Was this?"
That's what I thought as well. Because especially when the demon in her body had said "this bastard child," I thought it meant really like literally.
Yeah. Because when I was going down that path, I was like, "Man, that was a really good guess. Like they're on the mark with that one." Turns out though you're wrong. No, it's
No, but I mean they wanted you to think that in this episode for a while, so you know.
But no, you know what? Fair play to them. None of us called it, I don't think. I didn't see anyone guess that they would twist it like this.
I think it was just because movie rights and, and you just go, nah.
Well, I don't think it's because of rights. The reason why I think the reason why I think no one really thought of this is because when we went into this show, we all thought it was a remake.
That's true.
We were all thinking it was a remake, reboot, and then... there was that hint in the first episode that it was in the same universe because it showed you the newspaper thing in the computer of the incident of the first movie, and it was like, alright, that's a cool little bit of connective thing. But even then, we're thinking, no, this is a complete fresh start. That was just a nice little Easter egg for people who are fans, moving on. And if I'm going to make any complaints about the twist, it probably is that it doesn't really work if you know nothing about The Exorcist. If you just started watching this show and never seen the movie, or read the book, or anything, and you just watched it on its own, with no prior knowledge, I feel like this twist, her name and the mother showing up at the end, wouldn't really have much of an impact.
I disagree. I think if you have absolutely no knowledge, yeah, sure, doesn't work. But I think even if you haven't seen the film, read the book, you kind of know the basic premise. Most people know the premise of The Exorcist, right?
Sure.
And I feel like there's enough in it that what else could it have been? And you could put it together pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, I suppose. I feel like, okay, you may understand what they're doing, but I don't think it'll have the same impact.
Okay, that's fair.
I feel like to me, I was like, oh man, because, I seen The Exorcist for the first time, 15 years ago? Maybe more than that? Probably at too young an age. Probably long before I should have seen The Exorcist. But, so because of that, because it's such an old movie to me, obviously it's old in general because it's from the 70s, but because it's such a, no offense to Gina Davis, who of course I'm implying by saying that she's old enough to play Reagan, but it's just such a part of in the past now that if you've been watching it sort of occasionally growing up or over the years, that this has a bit of impact. It's like, oh crap, this is suddenly a part of this story.
I think, like I say, because it has been around so long is why it works, even if you haven't seen it, because once you realise that there's this twist and she says she's changed her name, I think everyone knows the story of The Exorcist well enough, or at least the broad strokes, to put it together pretty quickly.
It's kind of like how the new Planet of the Apes movies actually spoil the ending of the first movie, but you just kind of go with it because everyone knows that twist now.
Exactly. It's like, sure, it was great at the time, but, it doesn't matter if you've seen it or not now. You know it.
Yeah. Which is a shame. I would have loved to have watched Planet of the Apes without knowing the twist, but I knew it going in.
It's hard not to, isn't it? Let's be honest. At this day and age.
I am firmly of the belief there's no such thing as a statute of limitations on spoilers, by the way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should, never talk about spoilers in a movie. I'm just saying there is no harm, even in a 50-year-old movie, to just, make it clear about going to plot details, I mean, it's the end of the movie. You don't open... See people who just talk about the end of The Sixth Sense without warning, and it's like, look, yeah, I've seen it, I know the twist, but come on, someone in the room might not.
There's got to be a limit, though, like 50 years.
No, never a limit, because there's always new people growing up who are getting into film and they're teenagers or whatever, and they deserve the right to watch everything they can without knowing the endings.
I think that's an impossible wish.
No, it would be if people just were,
People can't even last 2 days on the internet when a film comes out. You've got no chance of this ever being reality.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. It's all part of the problem. I'm saying that people are all wrong and terrible.
Alright.
Maybe we should all get possessed.
So talk about the rest of this episode?
Yeah, let's do that. I thought there was some wonderful creepy imagery. Everything where we seen Casey through the monitor. The security camera.
Just staring up at it.
Yeah, all of that was great. Some of the stuff where she's trying to you break the priest down. Like Tomas, like he gets the vision of Jessica, which leads him to actually going and seeing Jessica. Which what I like about that is though, because I feel like he became a priest because of his grandma, and they established that. It's even brought up again in this episode. Angela Reagan, I should say, talks about it. And what I liked about that is that I feel like that's actually him not doing a bad thing. I feel like, I mean, sure, it's bad that she's still married. Yeah, get that sorted, sure. But I feel like he wasn't a priest because it was his idea, it was his passion or his goal. It was something that was sort of imprinted onto him, right? And I feel like the reason why the demon, the salesman, if you want to call him that, could break him down is because he's not being true to who he is. And who he really is someone who loves Jessica, and that's why, he can't stop thinking about it. He can't let that go. He's forcing himself away from it because he's supposed to be a priest who doesn't do that, and he's supposed to... But this was him accepting who he is. So even though he's still like guilty about it, and he asks for forgiveness, and he gets down on his knees and begs and prays, I feel like, from my perspective, this is him actually like accepting who he is, and because of that, he'll be stronger the next time he faces the demon.
Makes sense.
But that was where I went with that.
Right.
Of course, the demon goes after Marcus and tries to bring up his mother and his father, and how his father beat her to death with a hammer. Was that a hammer? I believe it was a hammer.
I think it was a hammer.
Yeah, something like that.
Very brutal either way.
It was. But no, also good stuff. The only stuff that I didn't like about the whole exorcism stuff, I loved Casey looking disgusting, and I really like the idea that this is her on the stage that Reagan was in the movie, and the salesman stage when he was like talking to her, and before last episode when she finally said you can do whatever you want or you can have whatever you want, like before that she couldn't get to that stage because she hadn't accepted it yet. But once she had accepted it, now she's like full on Exorcist, your mother sucks cocks in hell mode.
Yeah.
So, kind of awkward if she says that to Reagan now that her actual mother's shown up. It's like no, she's there. Unless there's another twist coming our way.
Oh boy.
But yeah, the only complaint I would have about all the Reagan possession stuff and like her acting crazy is I did think the floating around was bordering on a bit goofy.
I thought that too. It was like she was moving really fast and just kind of shooting across the room, and I felt it was less effective than just... Yeah.
Because see when it ended and she just crawled on top of him, that was effective. Her crawling around is creepy.
It also didn't really make sense to me, because most of the stuff we're seeing is the demon doing it, right? We're seeing it, like, when we see it inside her head, like when she's thrashing around and we see him crouched on top of her, and it's like she's trying to get up.
Yeah.
And we see that, but then last episode, where the nurse got choked, and we saw the demon do it, and so it looks to them it looks like she's just floating around and getting pulled back, but to her she sees the demon doing it. To this, when she's floating around the room, how does that work? Like, is the demon underneath her, lifting her and running her around? I don't get it.
Oh no, I still take it to. I still think that there are times when he just takes control of her body. I don't think it's always.
Okay.
I don't think it's always a case of she's like lying there prone all the time and seeing him do things. I think there is times when he takes control.
Right. Okay.
But then there's other times like, and I actually thought that image of him like sitting on top of her was actually a really effective sort of. It was because it's a really weird image to see like a man who's like 60 or give or take, and he's like sitting like almost schoolboy style on top of this teenage girl.
Yeah. With
his horrible toes right in her face.
Yeah, they're not nice, are they?
Yeah. It was just really sort of bizarre, weird, creepy imagery. I felt like the episode had a lot of that, and I really liked how right from the start it's like you hear news reports of a storm coming in, and then it's raining all episode. Like it really set the mood. Like everything was just kind of kicking off, which is why it partly felt like a sort of mini season finale kind of thing.
It did, and let's say, and we're just about to get to sort of more cliffhangers. Obviously, we had the stuff with Angela and the mother showing up.
Yeah.
But there was stuff to do with Casey as well.
Yeah, Casey, of course. Kat falling for the trick of Casey screaming, saying they're torturing me, phones the police, and the police come, they arrest Marcus.
I at least accept it because she'd already said, "Oh, we should be phoning the police."
Yeah,
that had already been brought up.
Yeah. But I love the moment when she's getting put into the ambulance, and Casey takes a moment to just pull off her oxygen mask, and like smiles at Kat, just to let her know that she messed up. Like,
Yeah, it's so evil. It
yeah,
might be the most evil thing in the episode.
yeah. Because I love because when Marcus looks at Kat when he's getting pinned against the wall and he's getting handcuffed, and he looks over like, "What did you do, you stupid woman?" Like, he's like clearly pissed beyond belief, and she doesn't understand. But then she sees Casey smile at her, and it's just like, "Oh no, you messed up."
Yeah.
And of course, Casey. We get another great scene actually of Casey's in the ambulance, and the ambulance like stops, and we see from the outside like the ambulance is sort of almost imploding.
It just crumples.
Yeah, like, it's crumpling from the inside, and then Casey comes crawling out, and like the ambulance driver, the EMTs, they're all like just a bloody mess, body
There's just
parts,
bits of bodies scattered around all over the floor.
and Casey goes creepily walking into the night. And
Yeah.
because we skip a couple of days ahead actually after that.
It says 2 days ahead is the next scene, yeah.
And so we know she's been missing for a couple of days. And I guess the other big plot point to mention is that she does at one point, as well possessed, mentions to Marcus a phrase in Latin which translates as, I can't remember the exact wording, but he is coming. He's talking about the Pope coming to the city.
Makes you wonder what the demons got planned on it.
It does, and it seems to be a big game plan. And now that we are officially tied firmly into the movie, or the book, or the original story, whatever way you want to put it, I guess it doesn't really matter. The whole point is that it's connecting to that original character. It's like, why is it intent on coming after this family? Why? What's special about them? Why her?
Yeah, I want to know what impact it has going forward. It makes sense why they cast like a known name now. For her, because before it was just like, oh, that was a cool grab, but now it's like, oh, you're playing this big character. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But and obviously now we've got the past. But what's her story going forward? Because there's got to be something more to it still.
I don't know if it'll be season 1, right, or if it's.
Oh no, I'm not sure about that.
What?
I'm not sure anything that will be major will be season 1 with her. I just mean like going forward.
True. But I feel like either the end of the show, maybe the end of season 1, I don't know, it depends how they're planning to play it. I feel like she will be the one that sacrifices herself, like, spoilers for the movie, I guess, and or book, but obviously the priest in the movie, like, sacrifices himself to save Reagan. He, like, makes the demon possess him, and then he, jumps out the window, or something to that effect. So, I can see her doing that. Like, I can see her taking, because she wants Casey to be okay.
Yeah, but then what I wonder is, because she's clearly lived past it, she's clearly not okay still.
True. She's still
she's not possessed, but she's clearly not okay.
This is a poor phrase, but she's still got her demons, clearly.
That was awful, but yes, thank you.
I wasn't intentionally trying to make a pun, but that was the phrase that came to mind, and I was just like, that's why I apologise first.
Okay, but yeah, so I'd be more interested to see her not do that and have to help her daughter deal with it better than she has.
Well, that's an interesting question. Like, if Casey's, exorcised by the end of the season, if that's how we end the season, is they cure her, as it were, like, what is the season 2 story with the family? Because presumably they'll still be characters. It makes sense that they would be, especially if we do tie into this idea that whatever the demons are planning is related to the original story, because it's Reagan now, and like she's around. Why this family? Why are they special? Are they still involved once they have been exorcised? All that stuff. So it does raise a lot of questions, but it does make the show a lot more interesting now than it was. And I was enjoying the show.
Yeah, we both were.
But this actually does it adds a lot to it, I think. I think I was going to say, I think the only danger now that they have firmly connected to the movie is relying on that connection too much.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and also I like that they left it this long and let it stand on its own. Because like I said, we were all just expecting a remake and a reboot. Yeah, and then we came in, it was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. Let them tell their story.
I feel like a lot of other shows would have done this twist at the end of episode 1.
Yeah, just to make sure people came back.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I do agree that I think it's a great thing that they left it 5 episodes. They let it have, arguably 4. You could count most of this one, but arguably 4 episodes of being its own thing where it can try and build its own audience. And outside of a bit of Tubular Bells in the first episode.
Yeah, a couple of little references here and there.
it did it on its own merits, so that when we get to the twist, we just kind of appreciate it for the twist, and it's not just the reason you're watching it, you know?
Yeah, because we were already into the story and we were
Yeah.
committed. Like 4 episodes. If you're watching 4 episodes, at that point you're probably like, yeah, I'm probably committed to this for a while now.
Yeah, so that was a good episode. Possibly the best one yet, I'd say.
That's definitely up there.
Yeah, so no, let us know what you thought of that episode and the big twist in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, it's taking a week off, so no Exorcist next week, but we'll see you for the next episode and beyond. So thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.